Okay, welcome back. Thank you for your patience. The podcast wasn't the biggest priority for me. Finding a place to live and transitioning to a new country, a new state, a new relationship. All of these things were more important to me than the podcast. So thank you for your patience. I hope to be more consistent in the second half of 2022. I've already have 4 or 5 great interviews that I'm excited to bring to you. And I'm going to continue doing these little solo episodes, hopefully on a more consistent basis. So thank you for your patience. Today, we're going to talk about this idea of sex and relationships. How does having sex early in meeting someone new affect the trajectory or the pace of a relationship? I have a lot of thoughts about this. I will share my experience around having sex with my girlfriends and how I think that might have affected the trajectory of the relationship. We also have a listener question, and I'm going to do my best to answer that. So here, let's start with the question, and then I will share my thoughts with you about sex in the early stages of dating and meeting someone. Welcome back. Thanks, everybody.
Hi, Sean. This is Stephanie from St. Louis. And my question is, I just recently met a guy on Saturday. We met, we had an instant connection, we hung out all day, and we ended up having sex. I have never done that in my life, never slept with somebody the day that I've met them, but we both genuinely like each other, and there's genuine interest. So I had said to him, I didn't need to start things off that way. I'd like to get to know each other on a real level, which we're doing. And I tried to back things up, but the chemistry is through the roof. And I don't think that we're going to be able to, we had sex again. So anyway, that's normally not how I start relationships. I'm just wondering if you think that screws up the beginning of a relationship, if you just start out having sex right away, if that screws up the pace or screws up the development of the beginning of the relationship. And that is my question. Thank you.
Hey, Stephanie. So first of all, congratulations on the sex and on meeting someone new that you are really vibing with. That is super, super exciting, especially since you haven't been dating anybody. So first of all, congrats. Second of all, enjoy this connection, right? Try not to overthink this too much. Yes, sex can affect the trajectory of a relationship. I don't think that it necessarily will screw things up. If you have multiple points of connection with this person, it's unlikely that the sex is going to negatively impact the trajectory of the relationship. And you're probably asking this because you like this person, right? And so the fear is, oh, I fucked up. I had sex too early, and now they're going to not be interested in more than sex. And I don't really think that's the case. That can be the case sometimes. I just don't think that you have to worry about it, because here's the reality. Well, you already had sex, right? So it's already done. And everything we do will affect a dynamic. Now, it's probably too early to figure out whether this is going to positively or negatively or neutrally affect this dynamic. So I don't even think it's worth worrying about, right? So my experience with my previous partners is, let's go back to the last 5 partners that I've had. 2 of them, we had sex on the second date, and we dated for about a year each, and they were fantastic relationships. And we had a lot more in common than just strong sexual chemistry. We really enjoyed each other's company. We had similar interests. We enjoyed going out and doing things other than sex. And then we also were really excited to go home and have sex. So I think that's what's important, right? Is, do we have more in common than just great sex? So in 2 out of the 5, or maybe 2 out of the last 4 relationships, we had sex early on. My previous girlfriend, we actually waited almost a year to have sex. We made out we kept our clothes on for a long time, and mainly because, not because we didn't want to have sex, but because she was in a relationship at the time, in an open relationship, and their agreement didn't allow for us to explore our sexual connection together. So that was exciting. At the time, I was also dating other people. So I think if I wasn't dating other people, I would have been pretty cranked up, pretty excited to have sex. I was already excited. And interestingly enough, when we did finally have sex, it was a little awkward, right? There was like a lot of buildup and it was a little awkward. And the sex was good. I don't think it was great. And it got great. It got really, 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 really good. And in my most current relationship, we didn't make out until the third date. And I don't think we had sex until our sixth or seventh date. So can it affect the trajectory? I don't know. I don't think it's even really worth considering. Right. And then your question was, do you need to stuff it back in? Right. Or can we back it up? And you even said, I don't think we can. We've already had sex again. Okay, great. Enjoy the sex. Right. I think it's hard to back up, but it's not impossible. Right. You could say something along the lines of, if you even wanted, if you even want to do this, you could say, hey, you know what? I don't normally have sex so quickly. I loved it. It was awesome. It was, I couldn't help myself because you're so sexy and our connection is so strong. And at the same time, I would love to back up a little bit and maybe focus on spending non-sexual time together, if that's something that you're open to. Right. So you can do that. But do you have to? Do you have to? Or can you just enjoy this new way of connecting with someone, right? This is not something that you're used to doing. And that's okay. You're trying something new, right? So just make sure that you're also doing other stuff, right? You're going on dates. You're getting to know each other. You're doing non-sexual stuff together. And at the same time, can you also share what it is that you're looking for, what it is that you want, right? Because it sounds to me like you want a relationship. And so make that clear. Make it clear that this is not just a sexual connection and that you're hoping for more and that you're open to seeing where and how this develops, right? Sometimes sex can drive the show, meaning it is the primary motivator for wanting to connect with or to someone. And I'm not saying that that's what is happening here in this situation. It doesn't sound like it because you're both excited about each other. But this is the fear, right? This is the fear that you meet someone, you're wanting a relationship with them, they seem interested, they seem motivated, they want to connect with you, and then you have sex, and then boom, the interest is gone. And this happens. This happens to men, happens to women, it happens to non-binary folks. I've heard of it happening to a lot of different people, and it's a huge bummer. It's a huge bummer when you are really excited about someone and then you have sex with them and then they're no longer interested, or they ghost you, or they disconnect. And I think that's just a risk. That is one of the risks of love, of connection, of dating people, of having sex with people. The risk is that they are no longer interested in you. And that can happen at any point in the relationship, by the way, right? It can happen at date 1. It can happen at year 10. People disconnect, they disengage for whatever reason. So if you're the kind of person, and I'm talking to everybody now, not just Stephanie, if you're the kind of person who really wants a relationship, and every time you have sex with someone early on in the dating process, they disconnect and are no longer available to you, then you might consider waiting, right? You might consider waiting so that you can build multiple points of connection with people. And also so that you can kind of weed out people that are just looking for sex. Though I know that there are people out there, probably mostly men, that will wait and say whatever you want just so that they can have sex. And then when they do, they're gone, right? So for them, it's a game. And that's unfortunate. I think waiting a little bit to make sure that they're a good person can help filter out some of those people, but you can never really filter out everybody because people are really good at masquerading or telling you what you want to hear. And that's just unfortunate, but it's sort of one of the risks of engaging with people. It's a risk of life, right? So some people ask me, how long to wait before having sex? And my answer is as long as you need to feel comfortable getting naked with a new person. And for some of you, that might be date one because you are just comfortable with your sexuality, you're comfortable with your body. You don't necessarily need to know someone before you know someone in a more biblical sense. So it could be as short as a couple hours and it could be as long as a couple months. Really, there is no timeline for this stuff. The timeline is what is comfortable for you, right? And so obviously don't let anybody pressure you to have sex until you're ready to have sex because this is a very intimate act. It can be very vulnerable to open yourself up to someone like that. And for other people, it's not. It's really not. They're more promiscuous or they have just a greater ability to connect in that way. I identify as someone who is or has been super promiscuous and have also come to terms with that about myself. I don't feel guilty about it. I don't feel shame around it. I think connecting with someone sexually is really beautiful. And also, it's not for everybody, right? Opening yourself up that quickly is not for everybody. So how long do you need to feel safe, right? That's really the litmus test in how long to wait before having sex. What's the ideal number of dates to wait before having sex for the first time? Again, there is no ideal number. Whatever is right for you could be anywhere from 1 date to 40 dates. Some people wait till marriage, and that works for them. That would not work for me. I would want to, sample the goods. Although if I'm waiting that long and I'm in love with someone for years and we don't have sex, I've got a pretty good idea of our sexual compatibility chemistry, right? Just by making out and being close and being intimate without having sex. So I've got a pretty good idea. And if I'm waiting years and I'm like committing to someone before having sex, then I'm also committing to figuring out how to have a great sex life with that person. I don't think that there are people that are just non-compatible if there's a desire on both their parts to adjust and to learn and to attune to that person's desires and how they are sexually, right? Okay, that's all I have for you today. Go forth and have sex or not. Basically, do whatever you need to do to take care of yourself and what feels right for you and your body and your relationship. Find someone that respects that. That is really the most important of all, right? It's not what is the timeline that will guarantee success. It's, does this person respect me and my timeline and is willing to connect in an authentic way full of presence and kindness? Those are the things that I think are really important. And have fun and have a beautiful week. Bye.